Anime begins in Japan with an orphan boy named Kazuya. He was on his way to a convenience store to get a meal for himself when he saw a thug who was about to attack two girls. So he jumped in to save them, and in the process, he got stabbed by the thug and died. But at least he was happy he saved the two girls behind him. With that, he opened his eyes in a whole new world as a 3-year-old boy named Kane. Naturally, Kane freaked out seeing himself as a whole new person, and his mother, Sylvia, thought it was a normal reaction since Kane was unconscious for a week. That's why they left to bring some soup for him. So, in some alone time, Kane at least got the gist of the situation, that he had been reincarnated after saving those girls. While checking himself out, Sylvia came in and thought Kane needed a nappy change. After that, he got many answers out of Sylvia. He's the son of Graham and Sarah, and he has a 2-year-old sister, Rain. Sarah is Graham's second wife, and from his first wife, he has 2 sons, making Kane the 3rd son of a high-ranking noble. Graham is a margrave who oversees the south of the kingdom and defends against monsters with adventurers. Kane got excited hearing all about magic and such, but he was still too young to try it out. For the time being, Kane showed his ability to study and asked for some books about magic. However, they still disapproved because a person must be baptized at the age of 5 to use magic, though Kane had already learned a basic spell. After that, he began to learn more about the kingdom's history and how it was founded by the first king named Yuya, a Japanese name, and how all sorts of fantasy beings exist in this world. 2 years flew by in a flash, and now Kane was on his way to the church to be baptized. After baptism, everyone gets a status window, and Rain showed Kane how it looks. There was a title Kane saw on Rain's status, which she quickly hid. Then they came to church for the blessings, and just as Kane took a knee, all the statues began to shine, and Kane woke up in front of all 7 gods. The god of reincarnation told him that it wasn't necessary to stop that thug. He could have fallen down, and the thug would have been subdued by the people. So, in simple words, Kane died a meaningless death. But because it was a good deed, the god of earth asked her to reincarnate Kane here. Kane liked his new life with his family, so seeing that, all the gods, one by one, gave their blessings to Kane. Afterward, Graham wanted to take a look at Kane's status. But Kane made up an excuse that he had a stomach ache and ran off to see his status privately. He saw his level was off the charts. Normally, level 5 is the highest, but Kane was at level 10, not to mention the blessings of 7 gods and the title of God's Chosen. At least the god of creation gave him a camouflage skill with which he hid all his titles. But he forgot to hide his magic power, the item box, and the judgment skill, which is also overpowered. That's why Graham asked his butler and Sylvia to never speak of this to anyone else. That sums it up for today's ruckus, and Kane saw a summoning book in his room and decided to give it a try. He successfully summoned a monster in his backyard, but Rain and Parma got caught up in it. Kane jumped in and saved them from the monster, but he took some damage. Nothing too serious. He asked Rain to hide this from their parents. Time flew by, and Kane turned 5 years old and decided to become an adventurer. Graham made arrangements to call some tutors for Kane's training. In his excitement to meet them, Kane jumped out of the window and fell on his teacher. She thought Kane needed nursing, but that was a misunderstanding. Millie and Na were both D-rank adventurers who took Kane to the training grounds. They were shocked by Kane's swordsmanship skill. Millie challenged Kane herself and quickly got tired. Then he showed his magic power, which shocked them even more. Na and Millie were confused because the kid had blessings from both the god of magic and the god of swordsmanship, plus the item box. They didn't know what to teach him, so they asked Graham for permission to leave the mansion. Otherwise, Kane might accidentally destroy it. After getting to a safe distance, Kane unleashed his mini fire spell, which wasn't mini at all, leaving the girls speechless. Millie and Na thought Kane should be tired after casting such a big spell, but Kane still had enough MP to cast more. Suddenly, a fanged rabbit attacked them, and Kane killed it with wind bullets. It was his first kill, so he excitedly showed it to his family. Nina used a search spell to locate more monsters, and Kane copied the spell just by seeing her cast it. They killed more monsters, but when Kane tried to follow one, Millie stopped him, warning that the forest is filled with strong monsters and that monster outbreaks happen every few decades. The next day, Kane went to the Adventurers Guild with Millie and Nina to get more info on the monsters. There, he saw a cute dog girl receptionist who found Kane adorable. Sadly, some goons came in and started molesting Na and Millie. Kane stepped in, beat the heck out of them, and threw all the trash out. Na was glad nothing happened to Kane. As time passed, Millie and Na's contract to train Kane was coming to an end. As a parting gift, Kane hunted down a dragon and an ogre to create a magic bag for them. But a soldier saw the destruction and thought a monster outbreak was happening, warning the whole town. All the troops followed Graham's lead to save the town, but when Graham arrived at the scene, he saw a handkerchief with his household emblem. On the last day of training, Kane gave Millie and Na the magic bag they had always wanted, which could fit an entire mansion, making it a national-level treasure. However, Kane had installed a security system that only the three of them could use, making it even more precious. Still, Millie and Na were happy to receive it. With that, they went their separate ways. Later that day, Graham scolded Kane for a good hour and a half after discovering Kane was responsible for the destruction in the monster forest. Kane continued adventuring and even hunted down a red dragon. Now that he had turned 10, Kane was on his way to the royal capital to make his debut in noble society. Through search magic, he sensed a large group of monsters attacking people. Graham sent his men ahead, but Kane arrived first and saw at least 50 monsters killing knights. Kane saved them all, but the knights were wary of him. Kane introduced himself as the son of Graham, and Graham's knights arrived to confirm his identity. Kane healed the surviving knights and stored the bodies of the fallen. When Graham arrived, he saw the carriage had the emblem of Duke Santana. Inside was the Duke's daughter, Miss Silk, and the King's daughter, Princess Tellys, both beauties. They were still scared, so Kane used a relaxing spell to calm them. Impressed by Kane, both girls started fawning over him and fighting for his attention. Confidently, both girls were also on their way to their debut and dragged Kane to ride with them. Both sat close to Kane and didn't let him sit elsewhere. They asked him to call them by their first names, and they wouldn't take no for an answer, so Kane had to agree. They stopped at an inn to spend the night, but Silk and Tellys didn't want to be separated from Kane. Graham tried to explain it was inappropriate for a boy to stay with two girls, but the girls insisted they were still scared after witnessing the earlier attack. Kane had to give in and stay with them in their room. Silk and Tellys joined their bed with Kane's to sleep side by side. It was a good situation for a newcomer like Kane, but it made him anxious, so he stayed up all night while they cuddled him. The next day, they arrived at the capital safely. But the girls still didn't want to be separated from Kane. In front of the vice-captain of the Royal Knights Order, Diam von Gazard, Kane was thanked for saving Silk and Tellys, as well as for bringing the fallen knights back. Kane was about to leave, but Diam stopped him because Kane still had to meet the king. Kane went to the royal court, where the king heard that Kane had defeated 50 orcs to save Silk and Tellys, and also brought back the bodies of the fallen knights. For his bravery, the king granted Kane the title of Baron, 10 platinum coins, and his own mansion. Naturally, some objected to giving a 10-year-old the title of Baron, but the king silenced them. Afterward, the king called Kane and Graham to the parlor for a private talk. Duke Eric once again thanked Kane for saving Silk and Tellys. Then, both fathers offered their daughters' hands in marriage to Kane. Surprised, Kane was reminded by the king of everything that had happened. If word got out that Silk and Tellys had slept with Kane, no one would marry them. That's why they wanted Kane to take responsibility. With no way out, Kane accepted the engagement with both Silk and Tellys. Both girls were happy, and they began recalling what had happened that night. Until then, take care.
Hey everyone, the 100 Girlfriend and I'm is back with Season 2. For those who don't know, the story is about how God assigned 100 soulmates to Rentaro, and if he fails to impress them after, they will die. Rentaro has been on a legendary quest to obtain 100 wives, and so far he's managed to collect 6. At the end of Season 1, late 2023, Hikari began to worry that Rentaro might get bored with their relationship, so she decided to spice things up with Kasuri and her new drug experiment. Unfortunately, she messed up again, causing an explosion that sent Rentaro and his girls to the roof. Rentaro saw that everyone was alright, but their bodies had switched. Now it's chaos trying to figure out who is in whose body. Miss Pervert, Hikari, took this as an opportunity to act dizzy and sniff Rentaro, but he immediately recognized her. Next, Kasuri gave herself away, and in C's body, Hikari and her body had been switched with Karen's. Karen was delighted with her new, larger body, but her shy nature gave it away. Whoever was in Karen's body was smiling in a creepy way, which made Rentaro uneasy. Then Nano handed her phone to reveal that Shizuka was actually Nano. To figure out how to return to normal, Shizuka suggested banging heads together like in stories, but the real body owners were worried about damage. Hikari guessed that a kiss might work, and Nano agreed. She called Rentaro into her embrace and pulled him in for a lap pillow, showing a dangerously affectionate, motherly side. After everything was set up, she kissed her prince and the body switching was resolved. The kiss released the soul from the body. Rentaro was still in shock from the first kiss, but now came the cold kiss from Nano, followed by Kasuri and Hikari's body, who rubbed her chest awkwardly. Despite the awkwardness, the kisses made Rentaro's heart race. Then came Karen, who gave Rentaro a blow to the head, and somehow he released her soul. Lastly, Karen and Hikari's body was tough to watch, but Rentaro kissed her too to finish the ritual. With all the girls back in their original bodies, their plan to excite Rentaro worked. He confessed that he loved all of them just as they were, which melted their hearts. The girls wanted to kiss him in their respective bodies, and after the kiss mania ended, it was lunch break. Rentaro encountered a new girl who seemed to be another soulmate. She looked like a middle schooler, but there was no rule saying she couldn't be there. She had forgotten her wallet and couldn't buy her egg bread. Rentaro, being kind, offered to share his, and she gladly accepted. She explained that her class had been talking about the egg bread in a movie, which gave her a craving. Though she was a good eater, she was also a bit irritable when hungry, but after eating the bread, she felt better. Rentaro tried to figure out if it was her favorite food, but the girl revealed that she had been craving it after caring about it. Despite being a bit rude to him earlier, she appreciated the gesture. This was the beginning of Rentaro's relationship with a new foodie girlfriend. Later, Rentaro invited her to the cooking classroom where he made her the egg bread himself. She was impressed and touched, even though Rentaro got burned by the oil while preparing it. When she asked why he was so kind to her, Rentaro explained that he found it charming how she enjoyed her food. This melted her heart, and she confessed she wanted to eat every meal with him as her boyfriend. That's how Rentaro bagged his 7th girlfriend, introducing her to his harem family. She made it clear that she wasn't interested in getting along with the other girls, and Nano understood her feelings. Rentaro mentioned a local food competition where the winner would receive money and gelato. Kuzubi thought of going alone, but middle schoolers need a guardian, so she asked Hikari to pretend to be her mom. Hikari agreed, but only if Kusumi called her mommy in return. A deal Rentaro wasn't having. The first episode ended here, so stay tuned for the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Until then, take care.